Today I want to talk about the perception of stimuli, which means our ability to take in stimulation, some kind of information that can cause a change, and how it's guided by our experience. And in a little more words, experience is the conditioned placement of focus. It's conditioned placement of focus. And I'm going to be using it today in about 4 ways. One is the sense of a soul mission. 2 is the sense of what does it mean to flow. Like, gotta practice somewhere, just start with an automatic flow. Like, when you just open it, what comes out, and gratitude. And then, like, very briefly, some the unofficial rules that come up that are navigated by the sense of exposure. And so, in a little more detail, perception of stimuli is guided by our experiences, which I've said here is conditioned placement of our focus, both recent and compound or long-term. Thus, our interpretations are ongoing. Projections themselves are rampant, and ultimately experience is a direct yield of our ability to modify projection and augment interpretation. So adjusting these lenses is how we'll be able to understand what the incoming information means and then usefully integrate its possible ramifications. We may project whether it's positive or negative, new or old, worthy or unworthy, and so on. So I would like to start with the auto flow. It's not easy to do this. I love prompts. I love practices. But today, I'm sharing this practice with you. Try auto writing. At the top of the page, you write auto writing, just flow. So you just write. So I just wrote, and I'm going to read it out loud just for the spirit of practice. What triggered it was that there was no structure. But I did have a paper to put it on. So there was no structure, but I was able to put it on a paper. So that was my space to work in. When I have no structure, there's less space to grow. Give me 10 minutes to practice something each day, and I'll dwell in it better than having an hour to just think about doing it whenever I want. So a little limits makes it feel like I'm actually able to meet the progression. Everyone's coping a different way. Some people hide desperately in mystery and then feel misunderstood. Some people crave being different at all costs, yet feel that they don't belong. Some people treat others like characters in a dollhouse to play roles for their comfort, but then feel the dried up, lifeless stiffness of being closed off from trusting. Healing my exercise from being a penance to a chance to congratulate and support myself is a way to transform darkness to light. It's like Michael, a close person in my life, feeling invisible, so he acknowledges others even if he's in a bad mood, and he shows he's been affected by their presence the way he used to long for. So when I did this, I realized these are the thoughts that were going on in my head. I was thinking about someone close to me, how they inspire me. I was thinking about lonely people. I was thinking about people cut off, people who are misunderstood, people who hide in different ways. So my focus was really on what people are going through. And in the beginning, I was sort of just kind of seeing myself as somebody who needs some structure, and then within the structure I can really find creativity and flow and openness. And in a way, I started with when there's no structure, I can't really make progress and meet up with the progress. And then at the end I kind of also spoke about physical exercise and how instead of it being a punishment, it's a chance to congratulate and support myself. So even how I show up for hard work, and kind of about darkness to light. So on a different day, not even the same day, in terms of writing about soul mission, I thought, let me experience my relationship to my soul mission in this way, where, I'm just going to let it flow, and I'm going to see where it automatically goes. And I'm going to learn about myself from that process of not judging it, not trying to write something. And there's a lot of pain here, actually, for me, because, and I'll read. I want to remind everyone, and this is what my soul mission, when I think about it, because that's what a lot of what I wrote in the auto flow. It was about helping people, inspiring each other, inspiring myself, receiving healing, sharing healing, working with limits, transformation. Anyway, so I want to remind everyone they are the light. But much of the time, I don't believe in me because I don't feel like the light. I often feel like a failure, a fraud, whose efforts don't make a difference. I started hiding my attempts and wanting to only be seen when I've completed the work and succeeded. I remember the stress of wanting guidance as a child to ride my bike, yet wanting privacy so I could mess up without the judgment and rejection. It wasn't safe to be a beginner who can be confident in my readiness, even without experience or ability yet. So that's pretty deep stuff, and it only happened because of being open to that long-term compound effect of, as I said, the conditioned focus. What I've been conditioning my mind, or what my mind's been conditioned to focus on. As you see, what came out in the auto writing, what came out in my thoughts about soul mission, a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of feeling like I have to be finished, in the toxic energy of like I have to be finished, completed before I'm worthy of helping. Trying to hide my practices, in the past, trying to hide my practice because, I wanted to be succeeded before I could be seen. I didn't, I was trained to believe that I would be judged or rejected if I messed up when trying new things instead of being encouraged and congratulated for trying new things. And then for the practice of what happens when I'm grateful, using this for gratitude, the same conditioned experience, I do gratitude practice every day, sometimes twice a day, and sometimes more even. Like I do a practice in the morning and then I'm more grateful during the day, and sometimes I also do a practice at night. But it comes up many times during the day. Oh, thank you. I feel grateful. I'm appreciating, whether it's just to life or to a specific person. So what happens when I'm grateful? And this was kind of in a grateful place. I felt a shift happening from, I had been crying before I had written this, and I felt sad, and I didn't even have words for it. And then after I did a gratitude practice, I genuinely felt a shift because of this compound effect of day after day for so long doing this. It makes a difference. So this is what I'll read. And try these. Try writing, auto writing, try writing about your soul mission, just what comes up. Try writing what your experience of gratitude is. So I wrote less fear, less reactivity. Dead ends become less attractive than the open-ended possibility. That means that I thought a dead end is attractive. Oh, I have a place to land. I have a hole, I have a place. Instead of just like the openness. So in other words, the open-ended possibility becomes more attractive. I can access my true feelings better, express them. It's revealed what works, how to take the right care of myself. Oh, it's revealed what works when I'm grateful. I learn how to take the right care of myself. I'm able to set a baseline that's easier, a baseline of feeling gratitude and appreciation that's easier and satisfaction, easier to revisit more frequently. I start trusting the life source, higher power more. I find myself complaining less, gossiping, pushing less, defending less. It's easier to relax, engage, lower the guard, open up. I'm a better listener, and I listen from the heart. I can better slow down, see the bigger picture. It's easier to let go of preconceived notions. Remember this conditioned placement of focus, so the experience can actually shift. Gratitude helps me to let go of preconceived notions and expectations. And I wrote this without, the two pieces being together. This is its own practice by itself. What happens when I'm grateful? And then talking about conditioned placement of focus is from another area. So it really does work. We see that this is like, real in our lives when we practice. That we let go of expectations and preconceived notions, and then the experience itself changes. The interpretations, the projections. Looking with love state comes naturally and feels great. It brings me closer to the Creator with a domino effect. So on all my relationships. So I feel closer to the one. I feel closer to the one who created me, and then I'm able to notice that all the relationships were to come together to create something together. Which is any connection, right? It's always collaboration in some way. We both have to share it, give and take. And so all my relationships become adjusted in that way too. It's a domino effect. And finally, less attachment to the outcome. So I make the efforts, and I'm not so obsessed with the destination. I'm learning how to be satisfied or content. Content like with the actual journey, with the experience itself. This ends up with an amazing result, which is pure intentions doing it for its own sake. So I'm going to be making food for myself because I love it. I'm in the experience, feeling grateful to have the ingredients, the money, the kitchen, the home, the hands. Everything starts to become included in it, in the way that I look at the world. And then my intentions are pure. I just want to make like yummy food. Versus if I'm in a place of not gratitude, I could buy 10 different fancy meals, bring them all home, put them in the fridge, and like take out and everything. And nothing will really hit the spot because I'm just not feeling grateful. So nothing, when the experience is not shifted, when the conditioned placement of focus is not shifted, I might still be focusing on things that disappoint me or make me unhappy. And in that case, without the change of experience, I will not be able to yield any new projections or new like expectations or interpretations. And finally, here are some inner rules. I only came up with 4, and I'm grateful for them. And you might come up with a lot more, but after doing some of these practices, you might find that you learn some true stuff about yourself. So for me, I wrote, treat every child, I wrote bum, it's horrible. I mean like disadvantaged person, lazy person, dog, cat. Basically people, in other words, treat every dehumanized or, just degraded being with love, because they're usually treated like slaves. Now, I started with dog personally because I see the way that dogs are just so loving back to their owners and to so many other people, service dogs, emotional dogs, support dogs. And, I see a lot of people on the street trying to make it better and not even having much of their own and helping each other. And I see children are so caring and kind to other children in ways that some adults can't even handle, being that selfless, like giving something up of their favorite. So, this isn't a rule for anyone else. For me, just treating pets and animals and, homeless or home free, they like to be called, sometimes, with love and not like a slave, not like you got to earn more your keep, you're not doing enough, and so on. Number 2 is practicing math helps emotional tolerance. Now, a few of these principles that work for me is that every action has a equal or opposite reaction, but it could be a greater reaction. If you have exponential equation, expansion. There's also the sense of looking at it like solving for X, and you have to try different formulas to get it. And finally, that the outcome is not the destination. You'll have another math problem after and another math problem. So when you practice that, it feels like I could apply those principles to my emotional experiences by this conditioned placement of focus. And another rule, my 3rd rule here, is making mistakes is part of learning and growing. So I'm never back at square one when I tried something new, or, because I mentioned earlier with my soul mission, often I become very discouraged if I'm not doing it perfectly. I feel like a failure, a fraud, not a success. Or if I don't take that practice time where you make mistakes and actually grow and progress in the practice time, I might end up feeling like I shouldn't even try. So it's very important for me to realize I'm not at square one. I learned valuable information, and I now know things to do differently, and I can see in the familiarity a lot of new stuff. So that's number 3. Number 4, finally, is to recognize my strength. The internal rule is that I come from a lineage of warrior women. I don't always know that, but Jewish women have quite a history, of being represented to some extent with heroines, versus some other cultures where women are not as heavily represented. And it's not so popular, but it's true. So I look at my own family, I look at my mom, and, she works in an area where she has to, represent the government and collect funds from people who owe. And it's how brave you have to be to deal with people the government calls criminals who owe tons of money. Who knows how desperate or frustrated they are. So she's such a respectable woman, so brave, and how she's been single for so long. And then like thinking of my grandmother who, you know, at 80, she went skydiving for her birthday, this religious Jewish woman with a little wig as part of the traditional culture, and how she just, you know, she got divorced at 50 from a very difficult relationship with children. And I just look at my mother and my grandmother, and looking at other women in the family, I realize I'm strong and I come from a warrior woman. So even when I don't feel strong, I look at them, I can see over time proof of the warrior woman nature in my lineage. And that's a great way for me to change my perception when things come in, and condition placement of my focus on the experience of just because I'm strong doesn't mean it's not tough. And so I wish you, you know, a beautiful day, that you're looking at your perception of stimuli, you know, being guided by your experience. And in that way, the conditioned placement of focus, sorry, a little flea or fly, and using that toward exploring your soul mission and gratitude, practicing auto, flowing, just like what comes out, and of course, developing some of your inner rules for you to lean on when you need. Thank you for spending time with me. Be well.